We are going into a 2026 rookie draft class at the running back position that is pretty cut and dry. After Jeremiah Love is off of the board, there's really only so much talent in this rookie draft class at the running back position and only so many potential options when it comes to dynasty fantasy football rookie drafts. And you guys have already seen me break down Jadarian Price as well as Emmett Johnson. You guys all know what the talent level is of Jeremiah Love, but there's one last running back in this rookie draft class who I really think can bring RB1 value when it comes to fantasy football. So let's break down who Jonah Coleman is in today's video and why he can be an RB1 in fantasy football. All right, so very quickly here, taking a glance at the top running back prospects for the 2026 rookie draft class. I already kind of mentioned them in the intro there. Jeremiah Love, Jonah Coleman, who we're going to cover today, Jadarian Price, and Emmett Johnson. Like I said, you guys can look on the channel. We already have a full breakdown on Jadarian Price and Emmett Johnson. I haven't done a breakdown yet on Jeremiah Love because everybody is doing everybody's talking about Jeremiah Love. We know who he is. We know that he's going to go at the 1.1 in a majority of rookie drafts here in the 2026 Dynasty season. But as you guys can see, I really think that Jonah Coleman is essentially the RB2 in this rookie draft class and is a running back that has some very unique talents that can translate directly into fantasy football. But this is a limited class kind of overall, but like I said, at the running back position as well. And we just found out this past week that Justice Haynes out of Michigan is going into the transfer portal. He's going to play another season of collegiate football and not going to be a part of this 2026 class, going to be part of the 2027 class. So yeah, the running back position is very limited. There are a couple other names that we could go over here or mention here, but really these are your big four at this point in the Dynasty season and getting prepared for rookie drafts. So let's go ahead and break down our last major running back, Jonah Coleman, who I'm super excited to cover today. All right, so Coleman started his career with the Arizona Wildcats and wasn't uberly productive, but we do see kind of an increase overall there in terms of what he was able to do, in terms of production based on the carries that he got. And really the big thing you see in that sophomore season was his work in the receiving game, but we really want to shift to his work with Washington through the 2024 and the 2025 season. Those are going to be the most crucial in terms of the data we're looking at him. Obviously very productive in 2024 with over 1,000 rushing yards, 10 rushing touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry. Once again, good enough involvement in the passing game, 23 catches for 177 receiving yards. Then we go to this past season, 2025, just 758 rushing yards, but you guys will see only 156 carries. 15 rushing touchdowns, though. And then, once again, improvement overall in the receiving game, 31 catches for 354 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Overall, he did have like 3 or 4 different injuries this past year, played through a lot of those injuries, wasn't able to play through all of them, but that did impact his total production on the season. You guys will see he's 5'9", a little bit shorter than most running back prospects, but 229 pounds. His BMI is at 33.8. He is a big running back, although he lacks that height, He's a big running back, and that does show on film. Very physical. We'll go over all that in just a couple minutes. But overall here, this is a player that has shown increased production, generally speaking, based on the actual production that he's been offered throughout his course of his collegiate career. All right, let's get into our scouting report on Jonah Coleman. I do want to shout out NFL Draft Buzz. I've been using their scouting reports primarily for these videos, at least in terms of what I show you guys. So shout out to them. They have an awesome website. Really encourage you guys to go check it out. They do really great in-depth breakdowns, not just on rookies, but overall collegiate players. So if you guys want to take a look at upcoming draft classes as well, really, really good website, really great resource overall. So shout out to them. Been using a lot of different resources for these videos, but they are the scouting reports that have been showing up on the videos. So I want to give them a quick shout out. Nonetheless, let's take a look at some strengths here for Coleman. Built-in leveler with compact frame who runs like a bowling ball through alleys, consistently falls forward through contact, and rarely goes down on first hit. So yeah, he is a very physical running back. Basically, when we get that first contact for Coleman, the play is not over, right? He finds ways to create, has the ability to move the chains and finds ways to create plays based off of contact. Super good film on this, guys. I really encourage you guys to go check out some of his film. Shows patience behind his line before hitting cutback lanes with precise timing. There's another big thing. He's very patient, trusts his offensive line, didn't necessarily play behind the best offensive line or anything in college football, but trusts them and is super patient. Ball security is absolutely elite. Just one fumble across 396 career touches speaks to his fundamentals and reliability in traffic. So that speaks for itself. But overall, when you're looking at different scouting reports and tape on Coleman, you will see this come up time and time again. Ball security, 100% there, absolutely elite. Sneaky burst allows him to reach the second level quickly, accelerates through creases with surprising immediacy for a back his size. So this is an interesting one, a good point here, right? So you're going to see the word sneaky there, and Coleman is not particularly the fastest running back at the end of the day. He doesn't really have good top-end speed, but it's kind of hard to explain. When you watch his film, you will see that burst. Like, you'll still see the speed that allows him to get to the second level. He's a really creative running back. He's able to get to that second level. Like it says, accelerates through creases with surprising immediacy. So you will see speed show up, although he's not the fastest running back at the same time. But I promise you, if you watch some of his film, it'll make a lot more sense. And this is definitely a good attribute that he has. Subtle footwork in tight quarters lets him navigate trash without losing momentum. Feet never stop churning through contact. Once again, just adds to his ability to continue to make chunk plays even after first contact. Another thing that shows up time and time again on his film. Natural pass catcher who transitions from receiver to runner seamlessly, presents a clean target away from his frame. So, he doesn't have like the greatest route tree necessarily, but he is a good pass catcher with very soft hands and finds ways to just be reliable in that sense for a quarterback. And that shows in the stats that we already went over earlier in the video. Shows surprising wiggle in space for a power back, can make the first man miss without sacrificing north to south momentum. Once again, you will see this in his film. He is still a power back, a big running back, a physical running back, but he has the ability to do a lot of things at the line of scrimmage and after the line of scrimmage that make him not feel like a power running back or make you forget that he's a power running back at the same time. Mental toughness jumps off the tape, never flinched behind Patrick offensive line, just kept hammering away regardless of circumstances. So like I said, once again here, didn't necessarily play with the best offensive line, but he still was able to trust them. And, his football IQ definitely shows on tape as well. And that mental toughness shows on tape. Like I said, he was able to play through some big injuries this past year. Some of them kept him limited at times, but both of these things definitely show up on tape, and a lot of really positive strengths when we start to break down Jonah Coleman overall. And very quickly, before we finish our breakdown on Jonah Coleman, just want to ask you guys a huge favor. Take 1 second, hit that subscribe button down below. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible here on the channel. Take 1 second, come join the Dynasty Endgame community. We are putting out weekly Dynasty content to help you guys dominate your Dynasty fantasy football leagues. So I greatly appreciate if you guys took 1 second and just hit that subscribe button down below. Moving to weaknesses here, limited top-end gear means he'll get caught from behind at times, won't be making many 80-yarders to the house at the next level. And I do 100% agree with this. Like I said, doesn't particularly have great top-end speed. It's more like at the line of scrimmage and kind of shorter times into plays where he's able to show that burst and speed. And just go watch his film. You guys will see what I mean. But yeah, he's definitely not going to be one of these running backs who's, taking huge runs to the house unless he's just, it's a broken play or whatever. But that doesn't mean that he can't be productive, especially from a fantasy standpoint, which we'll get to in a couple minutes here. Pass protection technique remains inconsistent. Sometimes drops his eyes at contact point rather than maintaining leverage throughout block. Now, generally, most of these scouting reports are done at the beginning of the season. I think this is something that he really improved upon throughout the course of this past year. So for me, this one doesn't necessarily worry me too much. And generally speaking, when it comes to a lot of running back prospects, we get a little bit of knock here and there on pass protection, but I think overall he's a pretty solid pass protector and it's not really a concern of mine at this point in the Dynasty season. Height limitations occasionally impact his ability to identify and pick up complex blitz packages, can get lost in traffic. So once again, one of the bigger knocks on Jonah Coleman is his overall height. He is in the lower percentile, but he's so physical and has such a large BMI and frame. doesn't really worry me, but it can potentially here once again impact pass protection. Lateral agility is good, but not special. Won't make defenders miss in phone booth situations with regularity. So I will say he's not the greatest athlete. Like, we're not nearly looking at the type of prospect that like Jeremiah Love is. Like, this is not a guy who's going to come in here and be a Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson type comp, and maybe that's extreme because those are like two of the best potential running backs I could mention. But yeah, Coleman is not particularly known for being super athletic, and that will show up on film. But at the same time, I think his film is pretty impressive. Could develop more nuance as a route runner. Currently relies more on availability than separation ability in passing game. I do agree with this. The route tree is limited here. He just does a good job of being there for his quarterback, like we've already mentioned. So definitely is an area of improvement, but I still think at the end of the day, a very good pass catching running back. And once again, that showed up in his statistics and in an area of improvement that he's already improved upon. So I'm not too worried about this weakness as well. All right, and here's the summary from the scouting report. I'm not going to read the entire thing if you guys want to pause and read over it, but just some key points here. Coleman will bring a lunch pail mentality to an NFL backfield, offering the 3 down potential despite athletic limitations. 100% agree with that. Tape shows a back with outstanding vision and feel between the tackles, though his middling explosiveness will prevent him from consistently creating beyond what's blocked. And that's 100% true, but really the key point for me there is the outstanding vision and feel between the tackles. It just shows up time and time again on film. And I really think like this kind of lack of explosiveness and top end speed, like, listen, not everybody has to come out and be Devon Achane or like be this player that can take an 80-yarder or 80-yard run to the house like Bijan Robinson in order to produce when it comes to fantasy football. And I really think that Coleman has a lot of talent and attributes in really good areas that can still lead to him being very productive in fantasy. While his compact frame allows him to absorb punishment, questions remain about whether he possesses enough elusiveness to create missed tackles against NFL defenders who close space much faster than collegiate counterparts. So that kind of just adds on to what we just went over here. Third down value hinges entirely on improvement in pass protection. I think he showed that improvement this past year. And kind of skimming in the bottom here, what separates Coleman from other similar sized backs is his impressive contact balance and consistent forward lean. He runs with natural leverage that makes him a nightmare to bring down in short yardage situations. I'm telling you guys, if you just take like 20 minutes, 15 minutes and watch Coleman's film, you will see this show up. And kind of like what I touched on earlier in the video in terms of what he's able to do, like in terms of me not being concerned about that top end speed because the burst is still there and his football IQ is there and the little things he's able to do in between the tackles and the way he's able to absorb contact and make chunk plays, like a lot of situations where you think the play might be over. But like I said, with this guy, after the first hit, it's still not over. Go watch some of his film. You guys will see these strengths show up and see why Coleman can absolutely succeed at the NFL level. So generally speaking, in terms of my breakdown based on all the different scouting reports, I've looked at information I brought in, and then my time looking at film. Just a general feel for you guys. He runs with power, creates yards after contact. I think we've gone over that plenty enough in this film, in this video, and that will be the first thing that pops out on film to you guys. He's a creative runner. I know I've touched on this a lot, but just look at what Coleman is able to do at the line of scrimmage and then very shortly from the line of scrimmage. You'll see him do all kinds of different things. Think of like a Maurice Jones-Drew type running back, maybe a little bit bigger overall, but think of how Maurice Jones-Drew was a smaller running back. He was just kind of like a bowling ball all over the place. That's a similar NFL comp that you guys will get. I do think that's a fair NFL comp. And while we're talking about NFL comps, I actually personally see a lot of James Robinson, who did have some productive seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars and for fantasy football. Think of if James Robinson was overall successful on a consistent basis. He reminds me a lot of James Robinson. He also reminds me a lot of David Montgomery. I think Monty is almost the perfect comp for me, but those are the three. Like you think of Maurice Jones-Drew, James Robinson when he was succeeding, and David Montgomery. Somewhere in between there is what we're getting with Jonah Coleman in terms of a prospect. And I actually think that if Jonah Coleman goes to a team where he's able to be in a role early in his career, like a David Montgomery role, how Monty was used behind or next to Jahmyr Gibbs, I think Coleman could get a ton of fantasy production in that sense. And that is really what could make Jonah Coleman a potential RB1 in fantasy football, is if he's used in that type of role where there's another successful running back next to him or in front of him, however you want to look at it. And Coleman is able to come in and not have to play 100% of the time. But even if he has to, I still think he can be successful. But in terms of what he can do in fantasy, I think this guy can score a lot of touchdowns, especially near the red zone. We'll jump to the bottom here. Ability to be a good goal line running back. Point blank, period. Coleman is a guy who, if he once he's on an NFL team, he's going to be used in the red zone. This guy can score 10 touchdowns in his rookie season. I guaranteed. I think he is that good of a prospect. I think everything else that's on tape, including him being a good pass catcher, can really lead to a lot of fantasy success for Jonah Coleman. So, that's kind of what I was going to wrap up with her. That's why I think Jonah Coleman can be an RB1. But once again, think of like that bowling ball type running back like Maurice Jones-Drew. You will see that on his collegiate film. Creative runner overall, chain moving back with elite vision. The vision shows up 10 out of 10 times on his film as well. Great football IQ. Those kind of go, hand in hand here between him, being able to consistently move the chains, use that elite vision. His football IQ shows up as well. And I think NFL teams are really going to like that. Good pass blocker. I don't have any concerns personally about his pass blocking ability, but pass blocking can always be improved, and a good pass catcher overall, as we've gone over. He finds ways to be there for his quarterback, and I think NFL quarterbacks are going to really enjoy being able to rely on Jonah Coleman, although at the end of the day, his route tree could improve as well. Great ball control, like we went over, 1 fumble in his collegiate career with over 390 carries. Great contact balance. This is something that you'll see in almost every single scouting report for Coleman. His contact balance is elite at the end of the day. Not the fastest running back like we've gone over, not the fastest running back after the first step, and does lack true speed. Not the best overall athlete, but just in terms of his play style, I am not concerned when it comes to Jonah Coleman, and I really encourage you guys to go check out his film. You will see all these strengths show up, and I really think he has solidified himself as the RB2 in this class, and I think for very good reason. Think Jonah Coleman, whether he goes to a team where he can be utilized as an RB2 or not, has all the attributes here to be successful at the NFL level. And in terms of him being a potential RB1 in fantasy, I think it can absolutely happen. Like I said, I think this guy has the ability to score 10 touchdowns in his rookie season because he is so creative at the line of scrimmage, does not go down after the first contact is initiated, trusts his offensive line, all the reasons we went over here. This guy is as physical as it gets, bowling ball type running back who just does not go down. I think he's going to be a player who has the ability to score within the red zone anytime he touches the football, and he is great pass catching upside as well, has all the attributes to be successful, not just at the NFL level, but also in fantasy football. And it's time that we really start considering him as a top level prospect to be a potential RB1 in fantasy football.